Optimism for economic growth in Indonesia continues to expand following technological developments and infrastructure advances in various aspects
Recording
of
in
the country's
progress.
life. The dynamics and challenges of the national economy need to be responded to by producing professional economists with an Islamic character who are able to encourage and provide solutions to the national economy of Indonesia. Born from the enthusiasm to support national economic growth on the global stage, Yarsi University presents an accounting study program at the Faculty of Economics and Business. For more than 32 years, it has been performing to meet the needs of accounting professionals and answer the questions of the global business world. By applying
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wa bihi nasta'inu ala umurid dunya waddin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in amma ba'du.
Praise the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who always gives us blessings and gifts. So today we are able to join today's summer school.
Salawat and salam may always be poured out to the great Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who has brought us to the path of light from darkness in this life. I'm Andre Zahran and my partner.
I'm Afak Zuhalaili.
We are your master of ceremony this morning. We would like to welcome the Honorable Professor Dr. Dato Azmi Umar from INSIF, who has willing to be the speaker of today's session.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this special morning we have several agendas as follows. First, the opening of today's session. Second, the lecturing by Professor Dr. Dato Azmi Umar INSIF.
The third, photo session, and the fourth, closing of today's session.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin this agenda today by reciting Basmalah together.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Well, before we jump to the main session, welcome one and all in today's session of Yarsi Summer School.
Yes, a warm welcome to each of you. Let's dive into the world of knowledge and learning about investment together. As today's main session is going to start, Lyle, can you tell us about what our topic today?
Of course, Andre, but before that, I want to tell about the quotes of today. It's from Carlos Lim about courage taught me, no matter how bad a crisis got, any sound investment will eventually pay off. So, the second agenda is a lecturing that will be conveyed by our speaker with the topic Investment for Gen Z.
Why is investing important for Gen Z, Lyle?
Well, investing is important for Gen Z, especially because it provides an opportunity to build wealth over time. Starting to invest early allows Gen Z to take advantage of compounding returns, potentially growing their money significantly over the long term.
I see, that's why it is important. And I do have interest in finance, especially in the capital market. But unfortunately, it is hard for me to find place to channel our interest in investment. So what do you think, Lyle?
Well, it's not right, Andre, because in our university, especially in the Faculty of Economic and Business, we have the organization concerned in the investment, especially in the capital market, called Yarsi Investment Club.
Okay, can you tell us more about it?
Of course, I will give a brief explanation about it because our organization often serves as a platform for members to learn about investing. Members can share knowledge, discuss investment strategies, and analyze investment opportunities together. If you want to know more about it, you can visit our gallery of investment in the fourth floor of Universitas Yarsi, or you can find us at Instagram at kspm.yic.
Okay, Lyle, thank you for your information.
Of course, Andre.
Okay, so without waiting any more longer, let me call upon our favorite lecturer, Ananta Hagabian, SE MBA, as a moderator and also our speaker of the day, Professor Dr. Dato Azmi Umar to start the session.
Before we start, I will read the curriculum vitae of Ananta Hagabean SE MBA as a moderator. For the educational background, he took the bachelor degree in financial of management in the Faculty of Economic and Business in the University of Indonesia at 2011. Then continue his master degree in Master of Business Administration or MBA in the University of Science and Technology Beijing, China in 2016. Then for the profession, he had Certified Financial Planner or CIV about Financial Planner Standard Board Indonesia USA 2019. And continue about the profession in the Certified Risk Professional or CRP in the Badan Nasional Sertifikasi Profesi BNSP 2022. Then profession in the Certified SME's Companion or in the Badan Nasional Sertifikasi Profesi in the 2022. Then the last but not least, profesi in the Certified Assessor Competency Entrepreneurship Badan Nasional Sertifikasi Profesi or BNSP in 2019. Then, for professional activities, more about 11 years as the finance consultant in the PT Nato Jaya Group, then business consultant in the PT Cahaya Aras Sejati, and business consultant in Yayasan Aras Hagabean, then former investment manager in the PT AAA Capital Partners, then the last but not least, former business development in the PT Oryx Indonesia Finance.
Okay. So for both Mr. Ananta Hagabean and Professor Dato Azmi Umar, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Afak and Lail. Yeah, a big question that already mentioned from Afak and Lail. This is really related to our topic. Why investing is important for Gen Z? This is really big question. I hope from this session we can answer together about this big question. Please sign in your mark why investing is really important for Gen Z. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Your Excellencies, Professor Emeritus Dato Dr. Azmi Omar. My greetings also to all the committees and also all the participants of the summer schools. First of all, let us give thanks to God for His grace that we can gather at this summer course in good health and good mind. We don't also forget to pray to our esteemed Prophet Muhammad SAW, who has guided us to become better human beings. Before I start this seminar, maybe to be more clear, to be more cheerful, let me begin with pantun. Maybe Prof. Azmi know about the pantun. In Indonesia, it's really famous about this. Pantun is one of the traditional terms that become a famous Indonesian culture in opening one activities. When I read one sentence, please say cakep, yeah. Don't say when I say one sentence, please say cakep. Okay, I will begin. I saw a big eagle flying in the sky. So I grabbed my phone and took a picture. Okay.
Cakep.
Islamic investment for Gen Z is quite struggle, but it motivates us to achieve our future.
Cakep.
Okay, that's the beginning to make our seminar today is more cheerful. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the summer school program. This is day 3, right? We already have day 1 and day 2. I hope you still enjoy the summer school. I am Ananta Hagabean. You can call me Ananta to be more simple. It is my pleasure to be a moderator for this session under the topic Islamic investment for Gen Z. This topic is really interesting due to the issue really related to our condition, of course, because most of the participants here are from Gen Z. As we know, Gen Z has a strong motivation, as we know, to become an investor. Everyone say, I want to be an investor, precisely Islamic investor. Am I right? Okay. which one of you, if I raise a question, which one of you want to become a successful Islamic investor? Please, yeah, raise your hand. Is it possible to raise the hand? Which one of you want to become more successful investor in the future? If possible, you can raise your hand, or maybe you can say in yourself, I want to become a successful investor in the future. Maybe we can answer this question after this session. This issue also become more important because the development of investment issue is really massive and faster. Due to this faster development attend to the faster development technologies, of course. So there are some of that kind of investment are inappropriate and tend to illegal investment. There are some of them also because the technology improvement, also there are some illegal investment. Many kind of illegal investment have spread all over the world, including in Indonesia. There is such like a robot trading, a binary option, fake investment platform, pump and dump scheme, Ponzi scheme, etc. This is like there are a phenomena in the world. Those activities push the huge amount of victims, and the most of victims are come from Gen Z. That's why this topic is really important to pay attention more and to be active as the questions to our today speaker. Before all of that, let me introduce to our speaker today. Good morning, Prof. Asmi.
Good
Hope you
morning.
are well.
Good morning and Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, Prof. Asmi. Hope you are in a good condition today and can
Alhamdulillah.
share a lot of information to us.
Mhm.
Okay, allow me to read first about our speaker's CV today. When I read his CV, actually there are a lot of experience. Maybe it can motivate us. Okay, let me share for the CV. Okay, there is in the. Okay, this is the CV. Currently, sorry, Professor Dr. Muhammad Azmi Omar is currently the President and Chief Executive Officer of INSEP University, the Global University of Islamic Finance since October 2017. And prior to this position, he held the post of Director General, Islamic Research and Training Institute, or IRTI, now we know as ISDB Institute, Islamic Development Bank Group in Saudi Arabia. At IRTI, Prof. Azmi pioneered and introduced innovative policy research that culminated in flagship reports such as IRTI Islamic Social Finance Report and IDB World Bank Global Report on Islamic Finance. Also, Prof. Azmi hold the post of President of the International Council of Islamic Finance Educator, Vice President of the Islamic Association for Islamic Economic, and a member of the Board of Trustees of the RFI Foundation, and formerly a member of the External Advisory of IMF. Concurrently, Prof. Azmi is a Sharia Committee member of Bank Rakyat Indonesia, Etika Takaful Malaysia, and MUFG Bank Malaysia, and formerly a member of the Sharia Advisory Council at the Securities Commission in Malaysia. Maybe in Indonesia we call it the SN, maybe similar with that, Dewan Syariah Nasional. Given his vast experience, he was appointed as Islamic finance expert to Brunei Darussalam Central Bank from 2018 to 2020. Also, it is the most important thing. Prof. Azmi also awarded the most outstanding individual contributions to Islamic finance in the KLIFF Islamic Finance Award 2015, and also a Lifetime Achievement Award in Islamic Economic and Finance at the Third World Islamic Economic and Finance Conference in Pakistan 2020. Prof. Azmi also hold a PhD in finance and also chartered professional in Islamic finance. Please give a big applause to Prof. Azmi. Thank you so much for your experience, Prof. Azmi. I think this is really amazing. Maybe we can share. Before I once applied the job in IRTI, and at the time I was rejected, Prof. Azmi, and you are one of the IDs committee. Okay, maybe with no longer time, we are waiting for the session. I think maybe I suggest to all the participants, please take your notes and also during the session also you can raise your hand and write down on the chat of the Zoom. We can discuss a lot. This is the rare opportunity to discuss to get directly with Prof. Azmi. Okay, maybe I will welcome to our speaker today. Please, Prof. Azmi, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Brother Ananta, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and good morning to all of you. First, let me thank the university for inviting me to be one of the speakers for this summer school. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share you the slides first, and those slides will then be used for the presentation. I hope you can see the slides now.
Yes, Professor, we can see the slide.
Okay, you can see the slides now. Okay, Alhamdulillah. So today, the topic that's given to me is on what we call Islamic investments for Gen Z. What I will cover in this presentation is that I will talk about what is Gen Z, just for us to be on the same frame of mind. Then I will talk about why you should invest. And being somebody who has been in both a banker as well as an academic, plus a multilateral banker, so I have, I would say, quite a good experience in terms of understanding the market, and particularly in the context of Sharia investments, or what we call Islamic investments, both in Malaysia as well as abroad. So then I will talk about the types of Islamic or Sharia compliant investment. Here I will tend to focus more on the Indonesian market. And particularly I will talk about how do we then identify or classify whether an investment is Sharia compliant or Islamic or not. And the next question that I will try to answer is, when do you invest? Is that the right time to invest? And number 5, I always tell people, even when I was teaching in the university back then, in many years ago, is that be aware of investment scams, because many people want to get rich very fast. When they want to invest very fast and get quick returns. And so we need to be aware of the investment scams, particularly now we have this social media that is basically exploding the offerings of investment scams. Then I will conclude with some words of advice. So my next, the beginning is I will talk about who are the Gen Z. I mean, this is a standard definition from McKinsey, those who are born between 1995 to 2010. But of course, in some other definition, they go slightly earlier or slightly later. But generally, if we look in the context of Indonesia, Gen Z is a very significant population in Indonesia, currently about 28%, with a number approximately 75 million. And that's a huge number. If you take 75 million, is equivalent to maybe a number of, equivalent to, I would say, almost like combining several GCC countries together. So it's huge number. And we do know that, for example, Gen Z is very social, digital natives, very focused, and some of them are very focused on ethical, on sustainability, and they have their own uniqueness in terms of consumptions, in terms of behavior. They tend to be realistic, but again, you can't really define them in terms of their identity. And they have multiple, they are members of various social networks. So these are typical understanding of what Gen Z is. But when we look at in the context of investment, we need to understand Gen Z before we can look at the kind of investments that Gen Z offer. And since most of you tend to be Gen Z, then these are the opportunities for Gen Z to look at. I've taken a report which came out recently, the Indonesia Gen Z report, which was launched just a few weeks back. And this report talks about Indonesia's Gen Z. Digital world is the real world for Gen Z. Secondly, inequality, mental health, social justice are the top concerns of Gen Z. followed by impact of technology, to even scarce job opportunities. So one is that we know job opportunities are very limited now, but at the same time, we know because of COVID, there is mental health issues. People are facing issues in terms of handling their own emotional situation. However, we also see that the inequality within Indonesia and in many other countries is increasing, which means that the richer gets richer, the poorer gets poorer. And this is even worse when we look at the case of pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID, as well as post-COVID. So even today, many countries have not recovered from COVID. So inequality, high cost of living are issues that must be addressed not only by the government but also by the social organizations, plus the NGOs and so on. The issue of social justice is also very important. And more importantly, on average, Gen Z earns less than 2.5 million rupiah per month, which leaves them little for insurance, for education, for self-development, as well as entertainment. Bear in mind, these are general average results, which means that these are the average figures that are reported in the report. So when we look from that figure where the amount of money available is rather limited, then the question is that how do you then spend that money? So people like Mr. Ananta knows that the simple rule of budgeting, and this is the very basic simple rules that you may want to follow. We call it 50-30-20 rule, which means that from the salary that you have, or even from the scholarship or the amount of money that you receive from your parents, for example, if you're still studying, or if you are studying and part-time working, then this 50-30-20 rule is quite, I would say, reasonable and good to be practiced. The 50% rule refers to, if you take, say, for example, if you have 2 million that you receive every month, then 50% of that 2 million, which is 1 million rupiah, should be spent on your needs, which means that on your food, on your traveling, on your rental, for example. These are important things for you to survive as a student or as a young worker. And then the 30% should be used for your clothing, for example, your wants. And 20% should be for your savings and investments. Make sure every month you put it as a rule, 20% of your income is set aside for your savings. And that savings would require, for example, a further breakdown, and which I will be talking a bit more. For example, one is out of that 20%. So if you talk about that 20% of the 2 million, it will be what? 400,000, right? So out of that, what you need to do is that to spend part of it in the context of at least you need to have a 3 months savings. So if you spend, say, for example, 1 million per month, so your savings that you need to create first from out of that 20% is you need to have at least 3 million savings from that 20%. Then, apart from that, you need to set aside a certain amount for your other expenditure, other savings, like your investments, plus your takaful or your insurance. Let me go further by showing you, going further by looking at why you should invest from that 20%. You know, the question that was mentioned earlier on by Mr. Ananta just now is why we should invest. Firstly, is of course, I mean, we know that I will start from inflation point of view. We know that inflation increases every year. Even if inflation reduces, it will continue to be there. There is no such thing as zero inflation. So one of the ways you can do to protect your savings, your money from inflation is by investing. Okay, investing. You take that 20% and invest that money. That will help to protect against inflation. That is the first one. The second one is on the financial growth. Mr. Ananta talks about investing, talks about compounding. When we invest, it's like planting a seed. You put a seed, and over time, it will grow into a tree. And over time, it will grow bigger and bigger. So investing in a small amount regularly will make the seed becomes bigger and bigger over a time. So it's important for us to understand that there's no such thing as you become rich immediately, but become rich requires time and a continuous investment, continuous investing. And that's very important. And the third reason why you should invest is the reason to achieve your goals and dreams. Many people, I see that, for example, particularly in Indonesia, they would like to perform Hajj and Umrah at a younger age. So what they do is that they save money to perform Hajj and Umrah. So the same thing, we want to spend money to perform our Hajj and Umrah. So to do that, we need to save. Or we want to set up our own business, or we want to set up our own startup firms. So those are possibilities that we can use as part of our goals and dream on why we should invest. Next, what I'm going to show is that based on the data that we have from my reading is that Gen Z dominate individual stock market investors in Indonesia, which means that if you look at the whole capital market of Indonesia, both in the context of investing in shares as well as mutual funds, Gen Z dominate. For example, 57% of the total investors of 11, or we would say 11.5 million investors in the Indonesian capital market, more than 57% are Gen Z. So it shows the importance of Gen Z in the capital market in Indonesia. And that percentage will continue to grow every year as younger people will enter into Gen Z market. So for capital providers in Indonesia, for stock market companies or shares companies, they will have to recognize the importance of Gen Z and provide the appropriate investment vehicle for Gen Z. So what I'm showing next is to show in terms of, based on the study, we can see that from the Gen Z priority, financial priority, the first choice of investment is buying a house. 29% of Gen Z says that we want to buy a house. That's part of our investment, long-term investment. Next, we want to invest. So when we talk about investment here, it refers to investment in shares and mutual funds. So 23% wants to invest in shares and mutual funds. The next one is they want to spend money on starting for business. So you can see 16% wants to save money to start a business, as I mentioned earlier, to achieve your goals. Then 11% want to pay debts. So within this particular concept, we understand that for Gen Z, investment is very important. Then later on, I will talk about what is investment. Investment is, but in this particular case, we invest not only in properties, a house, but we also invest in different types of instruments. Okay, the instruments that we can see from here, what are the types of investments? So here I focus only on Sharia compliant investment or Sharia investments, as it is known in Indonesia. So we have different stages that I put forward: the low risk, the medium risk, and the high risk. And later on, I talk about the long-term investment. So when you have, say, for example, the 20% that I mentioned earlier on for you to save and invest, first is, of course, the savings account that you have. And the savings account are available through your digital bank as well as your normal banks. Secondly, you have Sukuk Retail in Indonesia issued by the government of Indonesia. And this is, again, another low-risk investment that you can buy, 1 million rupiah, 2 million rupiah, and keep it over 3 years, 5 years, depending on the maturity of the investment. You also have the money market mutual funds. These are, again, short-term instruments issued by banks or companies that invest in the Islamic money market, such as government sukuk and corporate notes of sukuk. So they offer slightly higher return than savings account. as well as slightly higher return than Sukuk retail or government Sukuk. So, but there are low risk options for you to do that. So what you need to do is that put some of your money in these low risk options. Okay, put some of your money in these low risk options. Remember, out of the 20%, you need to set aside a certain percentage in these low risk options. What is that? What is that percentage? Again, there is no magic figure, but I would say later on I will go into slightly some figures for you to decide on the low risk option, the medium, and the high risk. So, okay, the moderate risk options. So, what are the moderate risk options that you can consider? One is the peer-to-peer lending platform. You have many P2P platforms in Indonesia, and some of them provide Sharia uh, financing. So they provide financing to companies, okay, typically under the Murabah structure. So this provides you a slightly higher return than the what we call the money market funds or the retail sukuk. So this is another opportunity to give you a return at a shorter period. It can be 3 months, it can be 6 months, it can be 12 months. And this give you higher return, but slightly at a higher risk. But again, these are still at the moderate risk level. Another category is the mutual funds, where they invest either in sukuk, the long-term sukuk, or they invest in shares. Okay, and their return is higher than the money market mutual funds. Okay, because they invest in slightly moderate risk shares or securities. The third one is real estate investment trust, where similar to mutual funds, they invest in real estate, or what we call they invest in properties, in building, in shopping lots, and so on. So they also give you a good return, slightly higher than the low risk instruments. The fourth one is exchange traded funds. Exchange traded funds are funds that invest in index. So, for example, you have the Islamic index in Indonesia, the Sharia index. So they invest in shares of the Sharia index or Islamic index. So they invest in that. So they follow exactly the proportion of proportion of shares in the portfolio of the Sharia index. So if the index goes up, the return of exchange traded fund will also goes up. And if the index goes down, the return of the exchange traded fund will also go down because they tracks the index. The fifth one is investing in shares or stocks in the uh, Indonesia Stock Exchange, in the IDX. For example, you buy directly, uh, buy those shares. Again, so you are what we call you will experience either up or down depending on the performance of that company's stocks or shares, and they give you dividend income plus some capital appreciation. Again, the type of shares would depend whether those shares are very risky or medium risk shares. So, so those are some of the options for you. And finally, the higher risk options, investing in cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is very popular among Gen Z Indonesians, but bear in mind, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many others, they are very volatile. So their returns can go up and also return can go down. And I personally have some friends in Indonesia who have lost a lot of money investing in crypto. Uh, and then the third one is forex trading. They buy and sell currencies. Again, these are very risky investments. And the third one is the startup investments, investing in venture capital firms that invest in early stage companies. Again, they have high risk, also potentially high return. So those are some of the options available to you as Gen Z. Finally, uh, let me, I miss out. Okay, let me go to this and then I will come back. Uh, Finally, okay, let me continue on this part. When we talk about the investment, I will talk in detail about cryptocurrency. I will talk in detail about the long-term assets, properties. But let me continue on what I have stopped here, which is investing in Sharia compliant shares or equity. You see, now by and large, most national bodies in Indonesia, in Malaysia, in Brunei, in GCC countries, in Saudi, in Dubai, Bahrain, even in, for example, some of the African countries, the screening for Sharia compliant companies or what we call Sharia companies tend to be almost the same. There are some differences, but generally they are quite similar now. So what is done in order to determine whether a company is Sharia compliant or not is that first is to look at a two-stage process. The first stage is to look at the business sector screening, and secondly, to look at the financial ratio screening. The business sector screening looks at the activities of the firm. What are the main activities of the firm, whether they are in single industry or whether they are in a number of industries. When I say, for example, a number of industries, a company could be involved in manufacturing a particular product, and they are also involved in, for example, distributing that particular product. So you could have the manufacturing and distribution as an example. Or a company could be involved in agriculture production. At the same time, they are also involved in tobacco or banking industries. So you could have that kind of mixed industries. So the first stage is screening the business sector. And to do that, we take a company, we then analyze not only its financial statements, which mean that not only we analyze the annual financial report, the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow statement, we also look at the activities of the firm. From there, we identify if those firms are in these categories, for example, in the pork and pork-related products, what we call the khinzir in Arabic or babi in Malay, pork or pork-related product, be it manufacturing, farming, distribution, they will not consider to be Sharia compliant. The second is the non-halal food categories. Non-halal food categories could be pork-related. It could be, where wine, liquor, which is under the liquor and liquor-related activities, either food or beverages, these are considered as non-halal activities. And then you have the gambling, interest-based financial institutions, the conventional banking, the conventional insurance, the Sharia non-compliant entertainment companies, for example, the tobacco and tobacco-related companies, the activities related contrary to Islam, these are considered as non-Sharia compliant. But what about arms and defense? I put in red there, just for your information, at the international level of, say, for example, the Dow Jones Islamic Index, the Bloombergs, and many others, the International Sharia Index, they tend to exclude arms and defense as Sharia compliant. And there is a reason to it. I would not want to go into detail, but if you want to ask further, maybe during the question and answer. So arms and defense are excluded from the list of Sharia compliant companies. However, in a country, say for example, within Indonesia, within Malaysia, within a specific country, normally arms and defense are not considered as Sharia non-compliance. They are permissible. Okay, so this requires a more explanation, but I do not want to go into that unless you have questions later on. After a company pass this business sector screening, then you would have to go through financial ratio screening. So financial ratios basically are taken from the balance sheet plus the financial statement, the income statement, the profit and loss statement. So the financial ratios are, for example, Again, these are examples. I do not give you a specific because I'm trying to generalize as much as possible. They will compute either debt ratios, and the ratio again depending 33%, 45%, 49%, depending on the Sharia board of that particular organization. Income generated from non-permissible activities, for example, interest rate, interest income, or income from non-halal food and beverages, income from liquor. A company has a mixed business. There are many activities, so they could have, interest received. They could also have liquor income coming. And they must, again, this income cannot be either 5% or 10% out of total income, as an example. Rental income, rental income from non-permissible activities. For example, this is typically used in the context of REITs, real estate investment trusts, or hotels. For example, the income from non-permissible activities for hotels and for real estate investment trusts is set at 20%. But income from interest from non-halal activities, clear non-halal activities, is 5% or 10%. And some also includes cash ratio of 33%. So when I talk about cash ratio, it's the cash over total asset 33%. So here, as we said, if we go to the first stage business sector screening, if a companies are within the non-Sharia compliance, they are dropped and out they go, they are no longer Sharia compliant. If those companies are not involved in non-halal food beverages, are not involved in gambling, for example, then they go to the second stage, which is screening the financial ratios. If they pass these financial ratios, then they are considered as permissible. If they are not, then they will be dropped. In the case where it is considered as permissible Sharia compliant companies, then every year the dividend that you receive must be cleansed, they purify. So what you do is that you take 5% of that dividend that you receive. Okay, say for example, if you receive, say for example, 1 million rupiah of dividend, then the 5,000, the 5%, sorry, the 50,000 rupiah must be taken out and cleansed as the tainted dividend. And this is done every year. So for companies like Dow Jones and so on, they update the list of Sharia compliant companies every, for example, every quarter or every semi-annually or every 6 months. So depending on the organization concerned. In the case of Indonesia, again endorsed by OJK, if you notice, these are quite similar. So the decision to classify as Sharia non-compliant companies based on the business sectors are similar in nature. If you see the gambling, the bulky items, Maizir, the production, distribution of haram products, these are similar to what I have shown earlier on. And the activity is contrary to Sharia principles. So this is a very broad term. This is also criteria used by other Sharia bodies to determine a company is Sharia compliant or not. Then apart from that, you also have these ratios, financial ratios. For example, in this particular case in Indonesia, the interest-based debt is not more than 45%. So again, if you do a study globally, some use 45%, some use 33%, some use 49%. And then the non-halal income compared to total business income should not be more than 10%. In other places, and other Sharia bodies, they put 5%. So again, there is no fixed figures. It all depends on the ijtihad of the respective Sharia boards, either in banks or in index organizations or in a country Sharia board. So again, you will see the differences between 5% to 10%, between 33% to 40%, 45% to 49%. All these figures are all based on ijtihad, these figures. But generally, they agree in terms of the debt interest debt component. They agree on non-halal income. The only differences that they disagree is in the context and what is the specific ratio that must be used. Okay. As I also mentioned earlier on, the Gen Z are also very interested in terms of investing in sustainable products. So let me just give you a brief snapshot for us to understand sustainability products. So if you look at the products, sustainability typically talks about ESG, the environmental, the social, and the governance investments. So we have from the normal investments what we call conventional investment, buying equity and bond instruments. In the case of Sharia compliance, again, you buy Sharia compliant equity, you buy Sharia compliant suku. They give you a return. However, their focus is not on sustainability, which means that they do not look whether a company fulfills the sustainability agenda. Okay, so the next phase is where you have investing in ESG funds, which are Sharia compliance. Okay, so you have responsible, sustainable investing, and then you go for impact investing. Again, we have Sharia compliant impact investing, focusing on return, plus you want to have some impacts. I give you an example. There are mutual funds that provide what we call impact investing. You invest in that mutual funds. The focus of the fund is to obtain a return, but at the same time, it must have or create some positive impact, say, for example, to the community. So you invest in companies that work with communities to reduce inequality, as an example, or a company that is involved in renewable energy. So that is an example of impact investing. Their focus is on getting a return, but at the same time to reduce the energy consumptions or the carbon emissions in a particular company or a country. Then you have impact investing first, impact first. You look at the impact first, the return is secondary. And finally, you have the venture philanthropy, what we call in our Islamic finance term or Islamic social finance, the sadaqah, the wakaf. These are components of the whole ESG investment approach. Okay, where when we talk about sadaqah, we do not expect to earn any financial return, but we of course we hope that Allah will reward us by giving a return in the hereafter. Okay, so those are the spectrums of the sustainable ESG investment. And these are some of the classification. I will not go into detail, but I will just going to show to you these important slides, which means that previously, if you look from the 90s until, say, for example, up to early 2000, up to maybe 2005, the focus then was only to have Sharia compliant investment, which means that as long as they are not involved, as shown earlier on, not involved in gambling, conventional banking, they are not involved in liquor, they are considered as Sharia compliant companies. What we say negative screening, and the one that I showed use negative screening. Let me just show you the one that I showed earlier on. The business sector screening is all negative screening. Companies are not involved in all these things. They pass their financial ratios. They are considered as Sharia compliant companies. The focus is not on whether those companies, after they pass the Sharia compliant companies, whether they are focused on sustainability, whether they have to reduce inequality, whether they are promoting renewable energy. Those are not focused. And this is what we call the first generation of the Sharia screening process, which is used until today. And we say these are what we call the negative screening. If you notice, it was like in the dark green there, it's the negative screening. Companies are not involved in riba. They are, for example, they are halal, no monopoly. For example, these are Sharia compliant companies, the negative screening approach. However, today, many Gen Z and many Sharia scholars are moving from negative screening to positive screening, which means that if those companies already pass negative screening, which means that they are not involved in riba, gambling, for example, or liquor, so and they pass the financial ratios, the next stage that will be done is to look at the positive screening. So companies pass the positive screening are considered as companies that fulfill the Sharia sustainable or responsible investment. So companies that, for example, have good employee relationship, good environmental impact practices, good international labor standards, for example, focuses on renewable energy, focuses on forest conservation. So those companies are considered as not only Sharia compliant, but they're also Sharia sustainable, responsible investment companies. So this is the second stage. And this second stage is becoming more and more popular today. Okay, just to give you another perspective, the term called sustainability. So we have sustainability, we have ethical finance, the focus on not only risk sharing, on the Munarabah Masyarakat, for example, impact investing, socially responsible investment. Okay, so those are the views in terms of the Sharia compliant companies. What I intend to do now is to look at the view of what is the Sharia view on crypto assets or cryptocurrency. Let me see. Generally, if you look at many Sharia rulings or fatwa given by many countries' Sharia boards, generally the view is that cryptocurrency, okay, is considered as haram. Okay, cryptocurrency is considered as haram. For example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, these are considered as haram if they are used as a currency. Let me repeat, cryptocurrency is haram if they are used as a currency, meaning that if they are used as rupiah, you buy goods and you use cryptocurrency as a currency. So why it is not Sharia compliant? One, because is that they do not meet the definition of currency as per the Sharia requirements. They do not have physical form, issue of ownership and transferability, the issue of legal and regulatory constraints. These are things that are considered not Sharia compliant. As bear in mind, this is cryptocurrency as used for currency purposes, as money that we know today. Okay. However, there is a view that within even the Dewan Syariah Nasional Majlis Ulama Indonesia, a view that cryptocurrency can be considered permissible if it is backed by tangible asset. For example, we know cryptocurrency like Bitcoin. Now, what is the backing of that crypto is the technology. Okay, the technology, the blockchain technology. However, if that cryptocurrency or crypto asset is backed, say, for example, by gold or by specific commodities, they may be considered as permissible. For example, may be considered. Secondly, it must be transparent, it must be regulated. And to me, it's always very important. Transparency and regulation is very important. That must be fulfilled. And the third is, of course, avoiding excessive speculation and gambling and use of crypto for legitimate purposes. Okay, let me talk. In the Malaysian context, the view is that, and I was part of the debate to decide this earlier on, cryptocurrency as an asset for investment, not as a currency, may be approved. May be approved, subject to, for example, all things are avoiding riba, gharar, and other prohibited. It should be devoid of that. I mean that there must be no gharar, no riba, and so on. Secondly, it must be regulated, and it must be for investment purposes only. Cryptocurrency, not for the purpose of using as money to buy and sell things. Okay, so in essence, the view of the Sharia Advisory Council is also similar to the Dewan Syariah Nasional Indonesia. So let me recap by saying that the view of cryptocurrency or crypto assets can be divided into two types. The first view is if the cryptocurrency is used as a currency, as money per se, then it falls under the definition of money with money, the trading, exchanging of money with money. Therefore, it's riba. It is not allowed. And furthermore, it's not backed by any regulation. So all Sharia bodies agree it cannot be accepted if the cryptocurrency is used as a currency, as money. Okay, that's the first. If the cryptocurrency is used as investment, digital asset, then even Dewan Syariah Nasional Indonesia implicitly allows for that. In the case of Malaysia, it allows provided it is regulated, it is in an exchange authorized by the government of Malaysia, Securities Commission of Malaysia. So in Malaysia, there is a platform, they call it Digital Asset Exchange, which is regulated. So only currencies that are in that digital exchange can be approved for Sharia investment purposes. So not any digital currency. It's only that are registered, that are traded in the exchange, and these are regulated, and this may be considered as Sharia compliant. Those cryptocurrencies that are not in digital exchange in Malaysia, approved by Securities Commission of Malaysia, are not considered as Sharia compliant. But for your information also, in Dubai, there is one Sharia compliant digital currency called Sharia coin, which is claimed to be the first Sharia Bitcoin, so-called, that is Sharia compliant. What I meant is that the cryptocurrency as currency, they call it Sharia coin, has been approved, and I have read the document not in great detail, where there is a Sharia resolution to say that it can be used as a currency. Why? Because it is backed by, I think that's backed by certain commodities in that particular Sharia coin. Okay, let me move further. Apart from investing in cryptocurrencies or shares or mutual funds, you have other things that you need to consider as well. As we said, property or houses, investing in gold is a good instrument to hedge against inflation. You can buy physical gold, or you can invest in gold-backed exchange-traded funds. However, bear in mind that you cannot buy gold futures. You have to buy physical gold so that it meets the requirement of Sharia. And then takaful, family takaful is very important. So remember that I said earlier on, out of that 20% of the savings that we have, that 20% we must invest in a bit of low risk instrument, a bit of medium risk instruments, and if you have slightly more money, then go into the high risk instruments, but also look at long-term investment options, which mean that invest be in property if you have some money, invest bit of gold, but more importantly is to prepare for family takaful. And I will talk a bit about family takaful. Okay, this is the study again on the why Gen Z wants to buy properties in Indonesia. This is based on last year's study done by Statista. 75% sees property as investment. 40% says as a place to live, and again, the property prices gets higher is also because of the investment purposes. Okay, so again, property is very important investment. I add on the family takaful. It's also important to set aside, especially once you are married or just even before married, is to have some takaful products. And those could be either on a micro takaful level or just long-term life takaful or educational takaful or savings takaful. I mean, I would not go into details, but these are some of the takaful products that are available in Indonesia. Is either to protect against death, disability, or critical illness. You also have Hajj, Umrah takaful, and critical illness takaful. Okay, so those are the things that, as we said, we need to look at in terms of the long-term options, property, gold, and family takaful. Finally, I will go in terms of when do you invest? Well, the answer is there's no right time to invest. If you study all the great investors, what they do is that they buy and hold. Okay, they buy small amount regularly over time so that it will grow. So technically, there is no right time to invest. What you should do is that buy regularly in small amounts, especially for Gen Z. Then, of course, educate yourself, set a realistic goal, and start small. Small investment. Okay. And then bear in mind, if you want to invest, make sure you check the reputable platforms. If you talk about companies, reputable companies, study companies, and seek professional advice. Some words of advice here. We have now many investment scams, and investment scams are not only, participated by young Gen Z people. I know many, even professional people are also being tricked or being cheated to invest in investment scams. And sometimes they lost their rationality, their reasons, and they just follow investment. And mainly some of them because of the thinking that you can be rich as soon as possible. There's no shortcut to becoming rich. In investment, it will take time to grow. There's no shortcut. So be aware of investment scams. These are some examples. It will require more detailed explanation of each of schemes. One earlier popular scheme is called Ponzi scheme. In Malaysia, it's called Get Rich Quick scheme, where they ask you to invest small amount of money, but you get higher return. Sometimes they promise a return 10% per month, which means that 120% return within a year. Sometimes they promise you 100% in 3 months return. So those are Ponzi schemes. So how do they pay you? When you put your money, okay, you will see that after a while you get your return. So you think that this is a good investment. Whereas how do they get the money to pay you? Let's say, for example, if you put 1 million rupiah, in 3 months they give you 3 million rupiah as an example. So you think that this is a very high return, very good scheme. But what they do is that 3 million rupiah that they give back to you, the 1 million is from your own money, the 2 million is from new investors. Okay, people who are greedy and wanting to have more. Why new investors? Because the moment you put in, you start talking to people about how the scheme works and how it is beneficial to you. And when you start talking, more and more people invest. So they are going to use new investors' money to pay to the old investors' money. So that's called a Ponzi scheme. The pump and dump scheme, the fake investment schemes. For example, now they use WhatsApp, or they use Telegram, or they use Line, where they show, very nice investment schemes. You put money 1 hour, you can get higher return, 3 hours, 2 days, or 1 week. All these are investment platforms that they created. They even created web page and so on. But again, these are not regulated by OJK, for example, in Indonesia. And typically, when you put money, you will get some return initially, but after a while, you will not be able to get your investment back. Okay. The unregistered investment products, guaranteed high return, high pressure sales tactics. These are some of the examples. Phishing scams, social media scams. Now, most of the uh, scams are using social media from Facebook, from Telegram, from WhatsApp, from Line. These are all common, like TikTok, for example. These are all common social media instruments that are used to scam people in order to provide so-called high return investment opportunities. So be aware of that and be smart. When you are not certain, check the OJK information and check with the authorities to ensure that whatever investment instruments available are regulated and approved by the regulators in Indonesia, in this case, the OJK. So to conclude, there are many investment options available, but as a Muslim, we should be focusing on Sharia compliant instruments. There are many Sharia compliant stocks or shares, Sharia compliant mutual funds, exchange traded funds, sukuk funds, for example. But as we move towards what we call the importance of Maqasid Sharia, which means to look at sustainability, hence we should be moving from just meeting the Sharia compliant, what we call the negative list, into also positive list, which means that companies not only Sharia compliant, but they also meet the Maqasid Sharia. That is, they meet the sustainability criteria. They are focusing on social impact, creating better impact towards community, towards environment, and so on. So while doing that, they are meeting the Maqasid Sharia objective, which means that the objective of Sharia. So I think with that, I've spent slightly more than 1 hour. So again, I open up for questions and answers. Thank you very much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Prof. Azmi, for your delivering the material. It's really quite interesting, actually. There are a lot of informations and also the news that we got from the PPT that you already mentioned, especially for the investment thing. Maybe before I share to the audience to raise the question, maybe before I want to say for the question, you can write down on the chart of this Zoom. Maybe later on, I will allow you to raise directly the question to the speaker, or maybe I will read for you about the question. You can write down right now. Before I give the audience for the question, maybe I can conclude for some of the point that Prof. Azmi mentioned in the PPT. There's one of the principle for the investment, like 50, 30, and 20 as a rule of thumb for investment. Yeah, you can highlight about this number, 50 for needs and 30 for wants, and 20, only 20 for required for saving. Maybe if it's difficult for you, maybe some people also, they can invest like 50% for their income. But from now on, maybe you can try to save, or maybe for investment, 20% from your income. This is the first one. And also, there are three kind of risks, because one of the most important rule of thumb for investment is high risk and high return. If we want to get more return, we have to be able for the high risk of considering of that. So there are three kind of the risk. The first one is low risk, and the second one is moderate risk, and with kind of the instrument of investment, and the third one is high risk. We have to be aware of this if we want to consider about the big return, but we have also to notice about the big risk considering about that. This is that we have to mention. And the most important also, there are two stage process of Sharia screening process for equity. This is how to declare that this company or investment is allowed or no. The first one is business sector screening. maybe we can simple for the screening is we call it Maghrib, Maisir, Goror, Riba, and Batil. In Indonesia, we call it Maghrib, Prof.
Yep.
Maisir, Goror, Riba, and Batil. And the second one, also we have to consider about the financial ratio screening. This is one of, maybe I have also a question about this because debt ratio should be 33% or maybe 45%. And also, but the cash ratio 33%. This maybe I will ask you, what is the 33% of the cash ratio? Maybe later I will ask about this. And also the most important thing about the cryptocurrency, this is much more important because as maybe there are two opinion about this. One opinion about this is haram if it's proposed for the currency or maybe exchange for currency, but in some of few it is allowed if it is used as investment purpose only. This is also a big question. Maybe the participant can also ask about this. And the last one is about the scam. Be aware of the scam investment. There is no uh, there is no right time to invest. Also, there is no quick way to be rich by investment. So there is slowly by slowly, and we have to be aware about the scam. This is one of the rule. Maybe later on there are a lot of information that we can get. Uh, I I will allow you to ask the question. Maybe if anyone question, you can raise your hand or maybe write down in the topic. Maybe I will start for the first professor about the 33% cash ratio. I still not mention about this. Is it below 33% for cash ratio or above 33% cash ratio, Professor?
Thank you. As I said, different Sharia councils um, have different ratios. But most of them use the hadith, which talks about mixing of one item with another item. So when you mix two items together, then you look at which one will be considered as the category to decide on the category of that item. So you take item A, you mix with item B. So which one is more? Item A is more or item B is more? Analogy is when you mix, for example, rice category A, rice category B. So you mix. So when you mix together, what do you call the final product? Is it A category or B category or what? So the hadith talks about if you mix between the two, the 50% rule is applies. It is applied in the sense that if A is more than 50%, then then the category is considered as an A. Okay, so that's based on that. So what Sharia scholars have done is that based on that hadith, Sharia scholars say that if it is 49%, then it is considered as acceptable. For example, you take the case of debt. If it is below 49%, it is considered less than 50%, therefore it is acceptable. The other Sharia bodies look at 49% is not accepted, they look at 45%. Some want to be more strict by saying that one third is more than one third is already more. Not more than 50%, but more than one third is already more. So they use the threshold of 33%. So if it is below 33%, it is acceptable. Above 33%, not acceptable. Again, these are all based on ijtihad of respective Sharia bodies or Sharia board. Again, I'm not saying right or wrong because it's the ijtihad and ijtihad is correct. So each body would have their own rationale and reasons to use one third rule or to use the 50% rule that becomes 45 or 49%.
Okay,
So
thank you,
that's
Professor.
okay. Yes.
Thank you, Professor. Okay, for the audience, if you want to raise the question, you can write down on the chat of the Zoom, or maybe you can raise your hand. I will point you to raise your question during to the speaker. Is anyone want to ask the questions? You can also ask. Maybe before the audience, Professor, also this is one of the condition also in Indonesia. You already mentioned in Indonesia, the Gen Z investor, like 57% of the people of the investor, but most of them has a small amount of the investment. And in Indonesia also we know the big amount of the investor are coming from baby boomer or maybe Gen X. Maybe this is the phenomena in Indonesia. I'm considered about the phenomena in Malaysia. Is it also the same condition in Malaysia about the Gen Z, or maybe the other condition, or what is the condition in Malaysia, Professor?
I mean, it's quite similar in nature, but my advice is that for whichever, I mean, particularly the younger generation, the Gen Z, is to invest in small amount regularly. If you talk about in terms of the risk perspective, I think one of the ways is to start with mutual funds rather than buying straight into one company or one shares. You go through the either exchange traded fund or the mutual fund approach. That allows you to buy a small amount regularly and at a low to moderate risk. Okay, do not go into high risk instruments because if there are losses, you will not be able to bear that losses. Bear in mind I use a very simple rule to talk about risk in investment. If you invest in a company or any instruments and you can sleep well at night, no nightmares, then that risk is okay for you. But if you invest in a company and then the company incur losses or the return is down and you have nightmares, then there is too much risk for you. You should reduce your risk. Very simple rule. Because also, one word of advice, people will always tell stories about how much money they make from investment.
Mm.
They will not tell you how much losses they incurred from investment. Nobody is going to tell you, well, I lost 10 million rupiah investing. They will always talk about the 1 million rupiah they make profit. So risk management is very important. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So this is the principle. If we can afford for the high risk, we can start from the low or maybe from the small, from the medium risk. Okay, Professor, there is a question in the chart question from the SEPTA. He asked about the Gen Z. Why still Gen Z still has a low volume of investment, and what is the best choice? The best choice to start from for the Gen Z to invest, Professor. Maybe you can. You already mentioned,
Okay.
but maybe.
As I said earlier on, if you start small regularly, small amount, but invest regularly. Why I say this is because there is no right timing to invest. If you study all the great investors, people will always cite Warren Buffett. Okay, Warren Buffett, the most successful investor in the world. Okay. What he does is simply, his rule is very simple, buy and hold. You buy and you hold it for a long term. But to me, particularly in this current context, for Gen Z, you buy a small amount regularly. Okay. You can start with mutual fund, retail suku, for example. You start with that, with some low risk instrument, and then go into a bit of P2P, okay, instruments. These are moderate risks. Go into that. But as you build up your capital, then you can take higher risks. Okay, so build up first. Okay, because as you work longer and longer, meaning in terms of more experience, better salary, higher salaries, then you can have higher risk. Then you can go into slightly higher, longer term instrument with a higher risk. Okay, so manage your risk well. Even if you look at banking, how banks are successful is because they have a very good risk management. So manage your risk well, small amount of investment, and increase from low risk to moderate risk. And then once you have built up your cash reserve, your capital reserve, then you can go to slightly higher risk instruments.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So just start from now and invest and keep it for the longer time, and we can learn from the process, Professor. This is
Yeah.
right reason, right? Okay, Professor, thank you for your answer. And there is also the questions from the chat. This is from Raka. He want to ask about risk, the three kind of risk. Maybe I will allow Raka directly. Raka, can you ask directly to the professor? I will allow you to open your mic. Raka, are you there? Raka? Okay, I will read. So Raka asks about, as you mentioned, there are three kind of risk. There is a low risk, a medium, and also high risk. Can we reduce this risk, Professor? This is because risk, as we know, that can be reduced. And can we reduce this risk? And how to minimize the level of the risk if we want to become an investor in stock market, specifically in stock market, based on the type of investment or which kind of investments are suitable for Gen Z. So can we reduce this risk and how to reduce this risk, Professor?
Okay, I mean, that's a very practical question. Very practical. There is a way to reduce this risk is by going through a portfolio approach. But that depends on the amount of money that you have in the first place. If you have a small amount of money, then I would suggest just go to the low risk. But as you build up your financial resources, your money, then use a portfolio approach, which means that have a certain amount of money in low risk, some in medium, some in high risk. Okay, it's a combination of that. What is the exact proportion or ratio for low, medium, and high risk? That depends on your capital reserves. For example, if you are able to lose money, for example, up to 3 months of your expenditure, then you can increase a bit of your high risk, for example. Because again, there is no scientific percentage. It depends on how you manage your risk over a time period. So it's important that as we build up our wealth, uh, we have a combination of low, medium, and high risk. That also includes some long term, for example, buying gold. Don't forget about your takaful, the family takaful, the long term, because that would help to cushion some of your losses. Have that combination.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So we can do it with diversification, yeah, the principle
Yes.
of investment. Don't put your egg in one basket. So based on this, we can also reduce the portfolio or maybe also diversification for reducing the risk. Thank you so much, Professor, for your explanation. And also, I will allow, there is also asking about the question, the phenomena about uh, Sharia investment and also conventional investment. Because she asked about the phenomena about the Sharia is real low. Maybe Salsa, are you there? You can ask directly to the professor. Hello, Salsa?
Yes, hello, sir.
Yes, you can ask directly to the professor. This time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum, Professor. This is Alfayla from Faculty of Economics and Business at Yarsi University. First of all, thank you for the knowledge. So my answer, answer, my question is the phenomena why in Sharia stock market are less embraced by the investor compared to the conventional stock market. Is it because of the small profit is to invest or etc.? Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Salsa. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your question is about why some people are not interested to invest in Sharia stocks. Could it be because of low return, low profit, if you look, I mean, to answer that, this is not a straightforward answer, but I mean, let me just try to respond to that. If you look at the Sharia screening criteria, as I mentioned earlier on, we look at what Brother Ananta called in Indonesia the Maghrib principles. And then after that, the financial ratios screening that are used to determine whether a company is Sharia or not. You will also notice that companies like technology are not in that non-Sharia, technology Sharia compliant companies. Technology, for example. So if you look at globally, during the tech boom, during oil and gas boom, during commodities boom, during property sector boom, Islamic finance or Sharia compliant stocks do very well. Because generally, Sharia compliant stocks, as I mentioned, they could be technology companies, IT companies, they could be in plantation, they could be in mining. If we are not talking about sustainable, I'm just talking about the first screening approach. So they could be properties, property development. They could be in, for example, in terms of oil and gas. They could be in for example, technology companies, the agriculture companies. Those companies, perform well. The only exception that we are not allowed typically would be tobacco companies. Again, depending, some countries tobacco is okay, some countries tobacco is not Sharia compliant, depending on that. And then you have the one that is agreed upon is gambling companies, banking, insurance, the conventional one. So generally, you will find that there is not much different in terms of the return of Sharia companies with non-Sharia companies. In fact, my team, at INSEF, we did a study a few years ago. I think that was, I think we launched the report in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. What we did was we studied the performance of Islamic stocks, uh, including sustainable, responsible criteria. So what we call meet the Sharia requirement, the negative screening, plus the positive screening. And we compare the return over a long period with conventional sustainable stocks. And we found that the return of Sharia stocks are higher or comparable to conventional stocks. So there's no difference. Okay. It could be different only in 1 year or in months. But over a long term, there's not much difference between the two. And in fact, it is higher. Why? Because Sharia stocks tend to be focused on technology companies, tend to focus on oil and gas, for example, renewable energy. So they tend to have higher return than the conventional.
Thank you, Professor.
Okay.
Area is not difficult also. Also maybe has the high return. Also maybe we just consider about the condition for the system for this area is one of the good choice actually to invest.
Yeah, because you should not look at short term.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you take 1 month comparison, it's not right. You need to look at the long term comparison. Then you will see there's no difference, or even Sharia stock higher return.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. Salsa, are you okay with the answer or it's okay? Okay. Maybe I will go. Okay. I'm sorry I can unmute. Oh, I'm sorry I can't unmute. Okay. For the next questions, this is Putri Agustin. You want to ask the question? The committee, can you open the? Okay.
Okay,
Putri Agustin. Yes.
yes, thank you for the opportunity. I want to ask about currency fluctuations. As we know that currency fluctuation is become one of the conventional investment, and I believe that it also be one of the issue in Islamic investment. So in conventional investment, we can mitigate or minimize the currency risks by using forward contracts, currency option, and etc. And my question is, if there is any additional considerations or additional parameters that we need to consider to minimize currency risks in Islamic investment? That's my question. Thank you.
Okay. are you talking about, maybe I ask further in order for me to answer the question. Are you talking about investing in foreign exchange currencies? For example,
Yes, right.
okay, in the spot market or in the futures market?
In the future.
Okay. You see, according to Sharia, foreign currency exchange, what we call sarf, can only be done on spot because that refers to
Oh.
currency. Can only be used for spot transaction. The moment we have forward and futures, it is Sharia compliant because it involves riba. However, for legitimate trade transactions,
Mm.
for example, you are an importer of goods,
Mm.
okay?
Yes.
You import goods and then you need to pay, say, for example, 3 months from now,
Mm.
okay? So you import goods, let's say, for example, from China, as an
Okay.
example, and you have to pay in yuan. So that goods will arrive 3 months from now, and once the goods has been exported by the Chinese exporter, and approximately 3 months from now, then you have to pay in yuan. So
Mm.
Islamic banks provide solutions to that. Okay, this is what you call the forward market. So they use what you call some salam method in order to pay for the future goods. One condition is that it must be a trade transaction, which means that you cannot just buy money for money. You buy
Mm.
because you have to pay for the goods that you're going to import 3 months from now. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm not sure whether Islamic banks in Indonesia has that facilities, but banks in, for example, in Middle East GCC countries in Dubai, Malaysia, Pakistan has that facilities where you can buy and lock the exchange rate using approved Sharia principles.
Okay.
Okay, it's only for the purpose of trade, not for the purpose you want to buy and sell currency. Okay.
Okay. I get it, Professor. Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for the
Okay.
answer.
Okay. Mm.
Thank you, Putri, and also Professor, for the questions. Is there any other questions? Okay, maybe I'm also curious about the cryptocurrency, Professor, that you already mentioned before. You say that crypto is haram with condition of currency purpose, and also crypto is allowed with purpose of investment. Maybe my question is there any cryptocurrency right now, maybe in the world or maybe in Indonesia, that backed by backed by the tangible asset, Professor? Maybe in Indonesia also, because this is really massive spreading in Indonesia. The Gen Z, they say that crypto is one of the style or something like that, and they follow their friend. Okay, I invest in crypto, but they don't know, and they know that this is haram or legal or something like that. In Indonesia, as you know, is there any crypto that allowed, or maybe all of the crypto in Indonesia is haram? Can you maybe give the explanation, Professor?
Okay. Maybe my answer may not be liked by many people. Okay. As I mentioned, the only cryptocurrency as a currency, okay, crypto as a currency has been approved only in Dubai, the Sharia coin. That is as far as I know. In all other countries, cryptocurrency as a currency has been declared as not Sharia compliant. I wouldn't want to use the word haram, but generally they say that these are not Sharia compliant, not acceptable. Cryptocurrency as a currency, you buy and sell currencies. But if cryptocurrency is used for investment purposes, it can be considered Sharia compliant, provided if it is traded in a government approved exchange.
Hmm.
For example, if OJK has approved an exchange, okay, a digital exchange, and that currency is traded there, then it may be considered as Sharia compliant. So which means that it must fulfill certain conditions. It must fulfill one, the currency is not digital currency or cryptocurrency is not used as a currency, it's used as a mal, we call it, mal as an asset to be invested. It is traded in an exchange approved by the government, regulated, then it may be considered as Sharia compliant. But at the moment, I do not think so in Indonesia. There's any digital exchange that has a digital currency or cryptocurrency that is traded in an exchange and approved by the Dewan Syariah Nasional Indonesia at the moment.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Professor. Because
Mhm.
this is like a lifestyle trend for the
Yeah.
Gen Z, Professor.
Mm.
Because when they are gathering or they talking about the crypto, they think they are really they are styling person like that. So we from this seminar we know that we have to notice and also maybe we have to check if
Yeah.
this is current, this is crypto is legal by OJK or not, something like that, Professor.
Yeah. If I can add, although I am the baby boomers
Mm-hmm.
group,
Yeah.
I also invest in crypto assets.
Uh-huh.
Part of my learning process because I do that, given my age, I also invest in cryptocurrencies, but the one that is
Dubai.
regulated,
Mhm.
regulated in Malaysia in an exchange
Oh, okay.
that has been considered Sharia compliant. So in Malaysia, we have a digital exchange called Luno, digital
Duno.
exchange Luno,
Luno. Yeah.
that is regulated by the Securities Commission Malaysia. And in Luno, not all digital currencies are Sharia compliant. What Securities Commission Malaysia does, and I was part of it, for every digital currency, we study each digital currency to see whether they meet Sharia requirements or not. So, for example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, for example, traded in Luno are considered Sharia compliant. Therefore, you can buy and sell as not as currency, but as assets, mal that we can trade it. There is a long debate between what is mal in the modern context, mal wealth from Sharia point of view. Some only looks at tangible wealth as tangible assets, which means that if you have, for example, house, that is tangible asset, that's considered mal. But what about the technology, the blockchain technology? Is it mal or not? Okay, so some will argue it is mal because it's a new technology you can hold. Just like electricity, you cannot hold, but electricity is generated. You can see, you can feel electricity. You hold electricity, you may get burned, for example. Okay, you can feel, but you cannot hold. Uh, just like sunlight, you know, sunlight, you can see, you can feel, but you cannot hold. These are new things. So, at least in Malaysia, the Sharia view is that we look at the blockchain is a technology, new technology, which is considered as mal. Okay, and again, this is a long Sharia debate on that. Okay, so
Thank
that's
you.
that's to answer that.
Thank you, Professor. It's a
Mhm.
really good information from you. My last question, Professor. This is before we close the workshop, the seminar. This is about the scam investment, Professor, because
Mm.
this is also one of the big phenomena for the Gen Z. Uh, how we identify actually illegal investment in this technology era, because sometimes digital makes the illegal become legal, Professor. And as you know, in Indonesia there is one phenomena in 2020 22. There is, we call it or say binomo or something, binary option, and already in jail actually the person. And also there is a robot trading, and the persons of the who sell the product, they become the ambassador also the for the application. And it seems like the illegal become for the general Gen Z become the legal, Professor. So how we identify actually for this scam investment?
I have one simple rule. One
Mm.
simple rule. There's an English term called if it is too good to be true, if it is too good to be true, then it is too good to be true. Okay, the simple meaning is this. If somebody offer you two good things, high return, somebody offer you high return for short period, then it is a forgery, a scam, because it's not rational. And I remember, that real story. I mean, I have many real stories. When I was in Saudi, working in Saudis, I've got some friends who invested in investment scam in Mecca. They even use religion to scam people, investment in Mecca. So I told some of my friends who have invested in that scam to withdraw their money as soon as possible. A few of them believed me and they withdrew the money. Those who were, I would say, very gullible in English, who were wanting to get higher return, continued in the investment, and 3 months later, all of them lost money. Okay? The simple reason is if the return that they offer to you is very high return, and how do you determine whether it's high return or not? You compare with the market return. What is the market return in Indonesia? Investing in stock market, you compare with that. If the return is 2, 3, 4 times higher than the market return, then it is a scam. So do not be greedy and put that money, because you will lose all your money after that.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So we have to look or maybe check and check, yeah, Professor, yeah.
Yes.
So we can compare to the return in the market in Indonesia or
Yes.
maybe in our country. So
Yes.
don't forget, for participant, don't be greedy to invest. So you have to check and check and check again about the investment thing. Thank you, Professor, for your
Thank you.
explanation. We have a lot of information from you, a lot of knowledge, and also this is really important thing for us. Maybe this is the last for our question. Thank you so much for your explanation. For all the participants, please we give the big applause to our speaker today, Professor Azmi. Thank you so much, Professor,
Thank
for your
you. Thank
information.
you. Thank
Because the
you.
times is already maybe about two hours. Maybe this is the last for our session, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the last sessions for our session for this third summer course. Before I close my session, I will read also again the pantun, so to make it more cheerful. Please don't forget to say cakap when I say a sentence, yeah? A monkey is stealing apple pie.
Cakep.
Okay, thank you. It pressed a button to open a gateway.
Cakep.
I promise this is not the end and goodbye. I will see you again in other summer school program someday. Thank you so much
Cakep.
Thank
for
you.
all the
Thank you.
participants. Thank you so much for the committee, and thank you so much for Professor Azmi for your
Thank you.
lecturing. There are actually a lot of information about us. There is two clue that I can summarize. There is no direct way to become rich, and also there is no right time to invest. Just start now, start, and please pay attention, and also please become an investor for this young age. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Ananta, for leading the session, and thank you for Professor Dato Azmi Umar for delivering an interesting presentation. Hopefully, all the participants can implement to their life. And thank you to the audience for being the participant.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are closer to the end of the agenda. But before we close this agenda, we would like to have the photo session of today's summer school. So for all the participants, please open the camera and say cheese. Start from the first slide.
Okay, I went down. So 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Move to the next slide.
1, 2, 3.
Yes.
Move to the next slide.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, for the last slide.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Okay, thank you to all the participants.
Well, we are coming to the end of the agenda. To close this summer school today, let us recite Hamdalah together.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. And as a reminder, tomorrow we still have another inspiring session with amazing speaker. So we wait for your attendance tomorrow.
Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Prof. Asmi.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.